Good morning, folks. In light of current world events, I have been thinking about content that may be of value to you, and I've decided on what I want to do. I am going to do a series. I don't know how much it'll be, or how many it will be, on how to grow food like your life depends on it. Hopefully we won't get to that point, and I don't think we will, but a lot of us are at home, we've got time on our hands, and I think it would be a great opportunity to work at becoming more self-sufficient, less reliant on the world around us, and have the ability to provide ourselves and our family with good food in enough quantities to keep us fed. About 8 years ago, I decided that I needed to have skill sets that would allow me to do things and be less reliant on the world around me. One of those skill sets that I wanted to reach or wanted to be better at was the ability to grow my own food and to grow it in enough quantities to feed myself and the family. Tried a bunch of different methods. Ultimately, I ended up at the Mittleider Gardening Method, and I haven't looked back. We've been growing a Mittleider garden for 5 years now, and truly believe it was what I was looking for in the way of that particular skill set. So, what I'm going to show you over the next few weeks and maybe months is going to be how to grow a garden like your life depends on it using the Mittleider Gardening Method. Some of the content, some of the things that you need to know, I've already recorded in previous videos, and we'll simply put a link to those videos in the description for the video when it is applicable. The other content that I don't have yet, of course, we will be recording as required. We're going to do this in the steps that you would need to be taking at your own home to put in your garden. We're also going to keep this as simple and cheap as possible, and we're going to be showing you how to grow in your own soil. One of the many wonderful things about the Mittleider Gardening Method is we provide all of the nutrients that the plant needs. Because you're going to give the plant all the nutrient that it needs, the condition of your soil is not important. The lack of nutrients in it don't matter. So long as your soil is not toxic, because you're going to give this plant all the nutrients that it needs, you can grow in your own soil. And we're going to show you how to do that. Now, I am in our greenhouse and I'm putting in seedlings because I fried all of mine that I started. I did buy seedlings, and they're going in the greenhouse. For the remainder of the video, when we're showing you how to do this, we are going to be out in our soil garden. We have 4 beds out there, and the rest of these series hopefully are going to be shown, or at least that which we're recording, the stuff that's pre-recorded from the greenhouse, I'm not going to change. It's all going to be out in the soil. We're going to show you how to grow an inexpensive garden in your own soil using the least amount of tools and equipment as possible. If you have better tools on hand already, for example a tiller, what are you going to need to get started? You're going to need the book, the Mittleider Gardening Course book, or you can get the free download that shows you everything you need to know about the Mittleider Gardening Method to grow in your own soil. And it is at growfood.com/soil. Bookmark that website while you're there. You're going to need it for some different things, to include your micronutrients. Some other things that you're going to need and probably will want to get on the way will be your micronutrients pack. It is available at growfood.com. You're going to need seeds. If you're growing seeds, you need to get them on the way. Decide what you're going to grow, get them on the way. You're going to need a garden planning detail sheet. If you use the link in the description to the Mittleider Gardening or the Mittleider Gardening Method Facebook group, you get into the group, go to the file section from a computer. It does not work from an iPad. You will find the garden planning detail sheet, print it out, and also look for the, let me look, forget exactly what it's named, the Simple Garden Plan. The Simple Garden Plan is what I'm going to use to outline what to grow in your garden. Jim Kennard has developed this, and he says if you follow this plan with 4 30-foot soil beds and the type of plants that he's putting in here for you, you can grow enough food to feed a family of 4. I have seen what you can do with a plant that has secondary edibles in a Believe Jim. So for the examples that we're going to do for this series is going to be based off of the plant selection that is outlined in the Simple Garden Plan. That's also available in the file section of the Facebook group, so get a copy of it. Now, I am 2 weeks away from our average last day of frost. I am not going to cover cold weather gardening yet. I'll get around to it this fall. If you are significantly further north than I am and you have a much longer time, like May, before you're going to be able to see your average last day of frost, reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'll try and cover what you need to know for cold weather gardening. For everybody else, I'm working off the assumption that you have an average last day of frost close to me. So, what do you need to do now? You need to start with getting seeds on the way, your micronutrients on the way. If you're going to order the book, which is invaluable, you will want to have at some point anyway, get it on the way. While that stuff is in transit, you're going to need to start preparing your garden and getting ready to grow seedlings. You need to select your garden site if you don't already have one and get it started. If you don't have a garden yet, you're getting started from scratch, I do have a video, link in the description, on selecting your garden site and the direction that you want to run your rows. Now, when it comes to forming up your soil beds, Jim Kennard, who is the president of this foundation, the Grow Food Foundation, that teaches the Mittleider Gardening Method, he has an exceptional video on how to do it. Jim has done thousands of these soil beds. I think the man could probably do one while sleepwalking. He's done so many. I'm going to send you to his YouTube page to the video on forming up the soil bed. I'm going to put that iCard here, and I'm also going to put the link in the description for you. Go watch Jim's video on how to form your soil beds. It's pretty easy to do. You can do it with basic hand tools. The next thing you're going to need to do, and let me shift my camera and move everything here. The next thing we need to do is decide what we're going to grow and when we're going to grow it. Again, I'm going to recommend that you use the Simple Garden Plan. It is available again in the Facebook group. If you don't do Facebook for any reason, you need these files, contact me through the contact page on YouTube here. Send me an email, let me know that you need them. I will attach them to the email and send them out to you. Because we're coming up on our average last day of frost here pretty quickly, I am going to be starting seedlings from the late spring and summer garden selection. A lot of the plants that you're seeing in here are going to have secondary edibles, meaning you can eat the leaves off of the plant and you don't have to wait. For example, a head of cabbage. You don't have to wait for the head of cabbage to form. You can eat leaves off of them every week. If there's something on this list that you will not eat, don't grow it. Don't grow something that you're not going to eat. Replace it with something else. I say that, but try some of these. For example, the beets. You're not a big beet fan. The leaves are very nutritious and they're good. Even if you won't eat the beet, try to grow some. Try the greens that are on them, and I think that you'll find that you like them. They're really good in stir fries. They're really good in smoothies. They're good cut up in salads. I'm not a big beet fan either. Typically I grow the beets and give them to my mother when they're done. Okay, next thing on our list here. For my garden, and what we're going to be putting out in the soil, when it comes to climbing and vertical crops, we will be putting in whole varieties. We already have the structure in place for growing vertically. I have challenges with mobility, and getting up and down off the ground to pick bush beans is difficult for me. I'm going to grow climbing varieties. If you don't have the structure in place to grow vertically, don't want the added cost of doing this, you can grow bush varieties. You don't have to grow the same varieties that we will. The structure for growing vertical is very, very nice. It is very handy. It makes your quality of life much better, but there's also some cost in it. If you want to keep this cheap, you want to figure out how to use the Mittleider Gardening Method, you can start by growing bush variety. Some of this content I've already recorded from previous years. I'm not going to re-record content that I already have. If it applies to you for the week, it's what you need to be doing. I will mention it, and I will put a link in the description for you. It's windy today, forgive the wind noise. In addition to the link for Jim's video on forming up your own soil beds, I will put a link in there for starting your own seedlings. There's a lot of advantages to starting your own seedlings, and I cover those in the video on growing your own seedlings. When your micronutrients arrive and you have the fertilizer and the lime or sulfur that you're going to need, you're going to need to mix that up. I've got videos covering those, and I'll show you how to mix it on a sheet. You can see those videos in the link that I'll mention below. If you already have your seedlings, or you go out and buy your seedlings, you've got your garden ready to go, we do have a video on transplanting, which is kind of what I'm doing now. No, it's not kind of what I'm doing now, it is what I'm doing now. And I will also put a link to the transplanting video in the description for you. If you are starting your own seedlings from seed, you won't be ready for a few weeks to transplant. In our next video, I will mention it again and give you the link. It's a pretty simple process, there's not a whole lot to it. One last recommendation for you while you're on the Grow Food site ordering your micronutrients. You'll need one package of the micronutrients. Each package contains 2 10-ounce packets. While you're there, order the stirrup hoe head. It is going to make your quality of life when it comes to weeding your garden so much better. It is so much easier than a traditional hoe. They're relatively inexpensive, and I think that you'll thank me down the road if you get it and use it. And I do have a video showing you that stirrup hoe, putting it on a handle. You have to source a handle locally, and a quick clip of using it out in the garden. I am going to get the rest of these seedlings in the greenhouse, get them watered before they start to wilt. If you have any questions on what you need to do to get started, where to get things, leave us a comment. I will look for you on the Facebook group. It'd be a great way to get in contact with me directly. If you're still with me, thank you. I appreciate you watching our videos more than you know. Please take the time to rate the video and leave us a comment. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and happy gardening.